Okay, so while I don't always agree with Mr. Razorfist, some people do bring up pretty good points about like multiverses. Um, I'll just basically read off what Razor was saying. Multiverses are shit. They add little, aren't necessary. You can do a one-off Batman story set in 1896 and let it stand there without explanation. It doesn't need its own, you know, bleep dimension. In these days, they only exist as a ready-made escape hatch for bad franchise reboots. And then Tank Theta elaborates, wanted to add multiverses, in my eyes, directly water down individual characters and their combination of core thematic ideas, and it destroys the impact of any death or permanent change to a true version of the character. Personally, I see multiverses as like the exact opposite of that. For Uplift Protocol, there's like probably about 4 or 5 universes that will directly influence what's going to happen in the main Eden universe. But I created it in such a way where once Unity is defeated in Eden universe, that will cascade out across the whole multiverse. I only highlight a few of the different universes because it's to do a compare and contrast of where some of the enemies came from and how things could have played out a little bit with some of the mainline characters. But I don't see it as a way to water something down. It just depends on how you play with it. And it's a case of like personal preference too. Yes, in many cases, the Dead 2 use their multiverses to basically shoehorn in stuff that doesn't really matter. And you can see it, with all their modern stuff. It's like, why get rid of the Elseworld stuff, and that could be a perfectly valid, like, what-if scenario, and yet you can leave the mainline continuity alone. That's the reason why, with Uplift Protocol, I am going to have a mainline continuity for Edenverse, and other stuff will fall in line after the main conflict is done. But I don't have to highlight every universe in the multiverse. Sometimes I just do a quick little, like, blip, just to showcase, like, oh, hey, over here, Unity ate a couple of these universes, and now those souls are stuck inside of it, and it's just like, oopsie. I think probably the reason why people are tired of some of these things is just because the Dead 2 have watered it down so badly and made it a basic, like, whipping boy of, oh, we want to try this particular soapbox kind of setup. I mean, it's the reason why Uplift Protocol is going to have a natural stopping point. The main story will be told. I'll probably have a couple anthologies that'll have like little side stories that flesh other aspects of the universe out. Because right now I'm really just going all in on the main story. And it's okay if you use a multiverse. Even stuff like Sliders had a multiverse, and certain episodes did build up on each other with certain universes, but it wasn't always the case. Sometimes it's just a case of what's the highlight of the week. It just depends on what kind of medium you're working with and what kind of story you want to tell. I personally think multiverses open up a realm of possibility to other aspects that you can showcase, but this also comes back down to like, where do you get a lot of your tension from? Some people want to see what the permanent stakes are and how stuff won't fluctuate, like once something's dead it remains dead, that sort of thing. It's just the preference of the reader or the writer or whoever's viewing the stuff, basically. At this point, there's like techniques that you can use in writing that might engage more people. But ultimately, it's pretty much up to the writer, like what they want to put in their story. Do you want to have superheroes? Do you want to have, lasers? Do you want to have multiverses? Do you want to have time travel? It's all up to you. And sure, there's certain ways you can implement it better, but you won't really discover how to do that unless you get buckled down and start writing. And keep writing. But I think a lot of pop cult stuff has really diluted a whole lot of things, because everybody wants to be able to jump on like this big, like, lightning strike of a bandwagon to where it's like, oh, my stuff will finally get to be in front of the masses and it will get a lot of traction, whether good, bad, or indifferent or something. But yeah, Hollywood's just basically degrading everything. There's no way around it, really. You can see it even in other mediums. All the video games, all the bigger franchises that are a little bit more well known are all doing like reboots or remakes, or they're just doing like cosmetic facelifts to old games from like now, if you look at it, like over 10 years ago. It's just something that's hard to escape nowadays. So that's why I mostly, I'm more interested in building my own world here with Uplift Protocol. Because that's the only way you're really going to have something that'll cater to you 100%, or that you can control. Especially in relation to, say, even tabletop. A lot of the RPG horror story stuff that I've seen, it's mostly due to the fact that maybe the DM wants things to go a very specific way. Well, as if you want it a very specific way, then write the novel about your setting. Because players can go off in 10,000 different directions from whatever you're going to do. Like, you could plan a whole entire backstory and a bunch of events, and the players might not even engage with like 1/5 of that. You just never know. So that's why with the Uplift Protocol Multiverse Onion, well, I'm basically showcasing certain other mirrors of characters to do a compare and contrast on either their story arc or their personality. Kind of like what's going to happen with Doc and the Spinster there. Her mirror from that, darker universe where it's like, humanity's enslaved and whatnot. And, well, Thomas Murphy isn't really the Thomas Murphy and neither is Gino. But there'll be a little bit more with that later. But the whole idea of the multiverse for me is to showcase why Edenverse is also the dominant one true kind of universe, and then stuff that's far too polluted by Unity. Just to give you guys an idea, there's going to be a fair amount of lost universes that are completely erased, and then there's some that are going to be saved, by certain kinds of events that are going to transpire by the end of, book 12. So, hang on to your hats, people. More Onion later. Yes. So how you guys doing? What do you think of Multiverses? Do you want to use it to showcase the compare and contrast of characters or different kinds of story arcs? Do you think it dilutes stuff like what Razor was saying? Because I think it's like a double-edged sword. Like, in some cases, yes, it could dilute the main sequence of events or the main universe. But on other hands, it can uplift it. So, have a good day, everybody.